For more on this, I want to bring in Republican strategist Ben Porritt. Also joining us on the phone is former Obama campaign director Steve Schale. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Ben, let me kick it off with you. Is Donald Trump impacting the GOP field overall negatively? What's your take on all of this jabbing back and forth?
Well, my first response to yesterday was, Bobby who? I mean, I forgot with 16, 17 candidates that Bobby Jindal was even in the race. I don't know if he's negatively affecting it. I think that he's actually bringing a lot of people to the conversation. I think that he's making it interesting in August and September when this campaign, in my opinion, hasn't really started because we're not even concentrating on Iowa and New Hampshire yet. We're not even into January. So I think he's actually bringing a little bit of interest to a conversation that maybe hasn't even begun in most people's minds. So I have a little appreciation for that. I think that he is, tarnishing his own image from time to time with a lot of the comments that he makes, but he's certainly making it interesting. Yeah, well, he's definitely bringing energy to the election, that's for sure. Steve Schale, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think Ben's right. I mean, as much as anything, it's like a publicity stunt for Jindal himself, but I mean, the reality is, while Jindal was absolutely right, I'm not sure there's anything that's, new or more outrageous about what he said yesterday. I mean, this is a guy who, took a really sort of unnecessary shot at, Ben's former boss, John McCain, who's a war hero, and it actually went up in the polls. So, I mean, I think the problem the Republican Party has is, when Trump got in the race, he had 20% favorables among Republicans. Today it's almost 60%. I don't know where it turns around.
Any thoughts on the Dem side, Steve? What's your take on Hillary's performance?
Well, Maria, I've been involved in the draft Biden movement. I think we're seeing more and more polling showing that the race is really wide open. I mean, yesterday, CNN came out with a poll that showed, Hillary with a 10-point lead nationally over Bernie Sanders. Her lead today is less than it was over Obama in 2007. So I think we've got a pretty wide open race right now.
Yeah, we sure do. I want to get your take. WPP Chairman and CEO
you
Martin Sorrell.
Me. I'm only a humble CEO.
Yeah, you're a humble CEO.
Because we split that
You
function.
have your finger on the pulse in terms of the advertising world, in terms of the corporate sentiment right now. What are you hearing from that group in terms of this election?
Incredulity, I guess. I mean, I shouldn't say this. It's
say it.
As a foreigner, I shouldn't. It strikes me as being a sort of a TV reality show. Well, there's a serious element here. I think the power of celebrity, if it is a power. And, you have Kanye West on the MTV shows saying, I don't know whether tongue-in-cheek or not, saying he's going to run as president in 2020, and Kim Kardashian, the prospective first lady. I mean, it's all a little bit strange, a little bit odd.
But you can't underestimate how Donald Trump is resonating with people.
Well, he resonates because there is discontent. Discontent for whatever the reason is. Now, we see this in the UK. We see this in Europe. We see extreme parties both on the left and the right making progress. You have this extraordinary situation in the UK where Jeremy Corbyn, who's a lookalike for Michael Foot, if you remember who Michael Foot was, looked a bit like Doctor Who, long hair, stooped back, elderly. Nothing against the elderly, but extreme left made the Labour Party unelectable. Tony Blair, Peter Mandelson pulled them to the centre, and Jeremy Corbyn is pulling them to the left. So you see some very strange phenomena taking place. But it's basically, I think, the effect of what we saw in 2008. There's a lot of discontented, disrupted people, economies, and that has pushed people to the extreme. From an economic point of view, CEOs who run companies, I think, are extremely cautious. And all these events are making them even more cautious. We're seeing GDP forecasts coming down. We're seeing very little inflation. Goldman took down their forecast for the oil price again this morning. So very little inflation, very little pricing power. And as a result, a lack of investment. The animal spirits have been dimmed ever since 2008, and that makes the economy quite a tough background. And unemployment, concern about employment, concern about future, automation, all these things are making people, I think, increasingly nervous. So Donald Trump does resonate. There's no doubt about that.
All ahead, by the way, of a Federal Reserve meeting next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Ben Porritt, real quick, let me ask you in terms of where we are in this process. Is it too early to define, who really is in the lead in terms of, 14 months away from really the election?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at campaigns past, it's a little bit different than what we're seeing now. If you kind of liken this GOP field to almost an NCAA tournament, except we can't get out of the first round. We're not eliminating anybody. And I think that we got to get to the Final Four at some point quickly. And it used to be you had to win Iowa or you had to win New Hampshire to advance. Now I think when you have 16 people, you use the NCAA idea, which is you got to survive and advance. And once you get to Florida, which is where I am today, I actually think that that's probably going to make the decision at some point for the GOP.
All right, we'll leave it there. Ben Porritt, Steve Schale, thanks so much for weighing in here. We will see you soon.